Hello and welcome to the KD Ratio podcast.
Kyle is checking our audio to make sure we can be heard.
Oh, we definitely can be heard. That's why we test the stream beforehand.
Well, you never know.
You know, we don't have a 100%
do this?
success rate on that, so maybe we should just check it.
All right. Well, thank you for dedicating those 15 seconds while we do our tech test.
Yeah.
Our tech test.
Yes.
Today is October 18th, and tonight, gentlemen, kudos to us. 2 years
It's been more than 2 years.
2 years
2
that
years.
we've been dating.
that we have been dating.
We
Thank
survived.
you for recognizing. I don't know why he
Still
doesn't recognize it.
No ring.
If he liked
How
it,
do you
then he
feel?
should have put a ring on it.
What do you mean more than 2 years? Because it's not exactly
No, we started streaming in September.
close enough. 2 years.
I mean, the milestone's already passed.
But
we didn't
streaming, we've been
celebrate it.
streaming for 2 years. You just were like, wait a minute, what
I was
are we?
like, what page are we on right
I've been streaming in the background for quite some time. No, I'm kidding. No, it's been 2 years, and we've been
now? Those
making.
streams of us in the early days would have been really awkward.
All sitting around one mic.
Oh God, could you imagine? I didn't even think about that. Could you literally imagine that?
Back in the day, when we first started recording, we had one mic, and we all huddled around it because we didn't want to
Oh my
invest in
goodness.
proper equipment.
Yes. We're like, one mic should do it, right? Yeah.
We got dangerously close to each other at some points. It was, and we used to,
Was it dangerous?
or was it
Necessary.
just right?
I think it was necessary.
Come on, Tars.
Oh my God. Well, anyway, here we are, and to celebrate our anniversary. Oh, hey, I see Something Cool Gaming's in the chat. Hats to you, sir, for your birthday. Happy birthday. So, to celebrate 2 years, Dylan has written us a song.
Yes. Okay, you guys ready?
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
I thought
finished.
you were actually going to just rip into that. I just
No,
threw you onto the
I did
spot.
the song, but it was at a frequency that you can't hear. Only dogs can hear it.
Oh, is that? I hear my dog going nuts.
Yeah.
He appreciated it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Explain the emotion behind the song so we can at least.
It is, both parts bittersweet and happy.
Yeah, actually, I think it conveys
Melancholy.
I literally am drawn to Tobuscus's like this is a dramatic song where he's just talking about how it's
Where he's like, a perfect translation
does not exist. That's aging us immediately.
Yeah,
'Cause-
if you were big into YouTube 10 to 12 years ago, then
yeah.
that's about when that was big.
Austin says everyone gets a free PC on me.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, sweet.
We do have some news on the PC front. We have a converted console boy.
Not quite. I don't say
He's
Yeah.
converted. He owns a gaming PC.
I've
He's owned it this whole time.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he's converted. Okay.
That gives me nothing but issues.
Well, that's your intelligence. You need to put more stats in that.
Too much in charisma.
Too much in charisma. Damn. And looks. Too good
Thank you.
looking. And we have a fresh convert here.
I've had a gaming PC for
Your wife.
10 years, 12 years.
Yeah, actually.
I just haven't updated
Yeah.
it since 2012. So
But you're a disciple now.
yes, not at all.
Tell everybody you got a new gaming PC.
I did. Well, gaming PC is a little
Gaming
much
laptop.
gaming laptop. So it's a soft introduction to the gaming PC world. But I needed a laptop anyways, and so I'm like, well, might as well because I can get Billy off of my back because he's constantly trying to get me to convert, and he thinks that I have, but I have not. Let me see. I'm gonna pull up the specs
specs.
here. Yeah. So
Austin says 4090 or you're not a real gamer.
yep,
Well,
that's what I got.
actually, you would be impressed with this laptop here. It actually has a 3060.
It does. Okay, so the full specs. Man, we talk
tonight-
a lot in
Well,
our,
it's me.
our Discord.
Yeah, it's I believe it's a 3090. It's got an i7. It's
I
an
think
MSI.
it's not a
I believe it's
3090.
Or I said 39. I'm sorry, 3060
Yeah. Okay, here it is.
i7.
MSI Sword 15.6 inch, 144 hertz gaming laptop.
Big dick.
Intel
laptop screen.
i7, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060, terabyte hard drive, SSD, 16 gigabyte of memory.
RAM for you old school boys.
RAM. And it works amazingly well for a laptop.
Until you have to do an update.
So you have to do an update. Last night I was playing, and every update in the world happened all at once, and I dropped to about 5 frames, and I was like, "What is happening?" And I didn't realize it was updating, and then I went and like lowered it to the most potato quality ever, and it still couldn't run. I was like, "Okay, something is happening. Something is not right." And then William was like, "Oh, just check the updates." I was like, "Okay." And I saw it was going, and I paused them all, and it was bam, back to premium gameplay on Ultra.
Especially for someone who has internet at your speed. I know from firsthand because I got gigabit fiber, which I love to brag about because it's the greatest thing ever. That is actually really taxing on a system to like unpack those files. Like downloading a game is actually one of the more like, besides playing the game, one of the more intensive activities that you do on a PC anymore, because you think about you're downloading, like I get up to like 120 megabytes per second downloaded. So my CPU and my storage all have to unpack that and kind of separate it into its files and store it. It's kind of actually a taxing thing. So whereas we used to really be limited by internet, like, okay, this, and your computer was not going to be bottlenecked. It's getting to the point where, man, you feel it. And I remember he was so disappointed. He's like, my laptop's gone to shit. And he also learned all the hard way. He was playing a game, battery died on him, had to have it plugged in.
For context, we were playing last night, and I just got it yesterday. So I booted it up about an hour before we started playing. Played around with it, checked out all the settings, downloaded some games, and the whole time it wasn't connected. So we start playing Divinity, and we're playing for 30 minutes, maybe around there, and no warning, just and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I plug it in, turn it on. It's at 0%, and granted, yes, I literally opened it up and saw that it had like 90% charge already just out of the box. I'm like, I don't need to plug it in yet. It's fine. I thought it would warn me. It did not. And
like,
I was
bye-bye.
Yeah, it was just gone. And then I opened it up, went back in and plugged her in, and then I hooked it up to my TV. And so I was gaming on the couch with my, I have the very
Awesome.
long cables for my keyboard and mouse. And,
Hell yeah.
Nice.
and it was great. It was
Love
awesome. Yeah.
Love it. So with it being our anniversary stream, I kind of want to go back and take a look at the last 2 years. I've cut a full detailed promo. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to play a 17-minute hour-long video
Of our best
culmination of
moments.
We're gathering the best 15 minutes from every episode.
Here we go.
Listen
So
to it. Have
random.
fun.
Let's talk about some of our favorite moments over the
Okay.
last 2 years. So I can go ahead and start. I think my favorite thing that we've ever done was we were disgusting about the Cyberpunk hype. I go back.
Yes.
I was just looking at some of the titles for those episodes. It was like, no joke, 7. Oh yeah, here we go. We got some people in the chat. The Power Outage podcast. That's a hell of an episode. I think about like the disgusting hype train that we pushed with Cyberpunk. If you go back, there was like 7 episodes in a row dedicated to talking about the hype of the game and where we could go.
That was the world, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the gaming world. Everyone was so hyped on that.
and we participated hard on that.
We did.
And so it's just funny to go back there. I know another great moment was when Kyle expressed his love to Dylan. And
Yeah. We were playing
Were we playing?
What, were we playing Fuck, Marry, Kill, or what were we doing? Oh, it was just the intro?
Yeah. It was
I was like, oh, I've been feeling some type of way about Dylan.
yeah.
But there was even a part where we were playing Fuck, Marry, Kill, and we were like, let's play Fuck, Marry, Kill with Dylan. And I was like, I'd do all three. Like, we just,
I don't remember that one. That
I
was
remember that, yeah. It
that
stays
whole-
in my head because he turned me down.
That clip is hilarious to me. But the power outage episode was also
My laugh.
funny.
That's how you know the real laugh in that clip of like a very high
Where
like.
it's like inhale. It's an inhale. What about the power outage episode was hilarious because
That was great.
It was full like hurricane, tropical storm levels of
80-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
80
That-
miles an hour. And like I was like, why are we still doing this? It was one of the biggest storms in recent
I had
memory.
my steering wheel driving to your house like at cocked halfway to the side just to freaking drive. down the
It was
road.
so bad.
It's ridiculous.
And we still held it.
Yep.
And
rain,
we,
sleet, sun, or whatever the
Yeah.
hell the phrase is. We show up.
we still had to record. We didn't have to, but we chose to. And power went out like 4 times. And so we finally were like, well, we don't, this doesn't need to be plugged in. So that's when we very first started recording in the
in
dark.
the dark.
And now every podcast that we do is in the dark.
Yeah.
We stream with the lights on, obviously, because you can see our beautiful face.
Otherwise,
Or Dylan's beautiful
It's
face.
just nothing.
Yeah.
Just look at that black screen.
I'm sure there'll still be a reflection off this. That's one thing. So like one of our most dedicated listeners is one of my cousins, and I think he messages me every single episode like, dude, put some hat on or something. He's always throwing shade. Love that guy. But yeah, dude, the power outage episode that actually set like a culture for us. You're right, because we do every episode now
That was the beginning of
in
it.
the dark,
We used
which
to
I enjoy. It's
when
more
we
relaxed.
were amateurs before we were pros.
Before
we
had
used
this.
we always had to restart like close to 10 times before we
Yeah.
finally were able to do it because we would just like
get the giggles.
and start laughing and we couldn't help it.
That doesn't even happen anymore.
No, now if we laugh,
No,
we
it's-
just keep going.
yeah,
We
you're right.
we just don't stop anymore. We've really lowered the quality.
I wouldn't say
The
it's
bar.
quality, but definitely lowered the bar. Because I think the quality picks back up after about 30 seconds of silly bullshit.
Yeah. No,
and hey,
like
who
that.
knows? Maybe this silly bullshit is good.
Well, so we've had this discussion many times just internally in our board meetings with each other.
yeah.
And the investors.
Yeah, and the investors. of
They
course,
almost pulled
our
after
wives.
after the Power Outage podcast.
This is some very low. But where did our $10 million go?
Our wives.
3 dudes. It's $10 million for this shit.
Can you imagine
We
if
use high quality paint on these walls. What are you
we
talking
went
about?
into like Shark Tank and like pitched
Pitched a podcast.
pitched this podcast and they invested and this was the result?
They're like
$10 million invested.
That would be the biggest fraud scam. Like, do you know how much Coca-Cola these guys drink? It is obscene. No, but like we've talked about that. Like, I think we started where we wanted to have like what's going on in the game world, and we did. We try to be a part of the news and talk about like current topics and stuff like that. And we really didn't like that because we felt pressured to like have that segment every time. So we're sort of grasping at straws some weeks. We've tried to do it structured in other ways, and I think what we've ultimately decided every single time is let's just allow us to get together and just have the personalities sort of shine through,
Yeah.
and let it just be organic and see where that goes. Other than trying to have something super rigid and turn it into a job, and that's sort of what we've always defaulted to. And I think that's at this point where we're super comfortable at.
Yeah.
Dylan,
one of my favorite memories, and you can actually go watch it. If you go watch our first stream, Billy
oh shit! I
kept
forgot about this.
kept reaching over and playing with my headphone cord.
Honestly, it probably happens
And
every episode.
During the stream, we had no clue. After the fact, Billy's wife comes and tells us
It was
she's
like I was all the way over here, and I'm just like it's on there.
You were stroking his cable. You weren't even just like
but I was reaching
yeah,
for it.
he was-
But none of us noticed.
no. And then after the fact, we were like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, that's the whole time."
I've been very aware of how much you use your hands to talk ever since we started streaming, because I never noticed when we were doing the podcast. But you are a very expressive
Yeah.
talker, and your hands are always involved when you're speaking.
And we've had to adjust our setup here to accommodate for that because we used to have the camera.
The camera was shaking like mad.
It's just bouncing because I'm over here banging, moving around. It also is impacted by me being all the way on the tongue of this thing, and so if like I barely touch it, the whole thing vibrates.
Laptop just swinging,
Yeah.
just swinging.
Swanging.
But man, we've had some good times. But I think that that's ultimately like that's what we enjoy about the podcast is we don't try to turn it into like something segmented, stale. We don't come in with like a calculated. It's just our opinions, our thoughts.
Yeah.
My
organic.
favorite episodes are still like the first 5 that we did
Of streaming or of our podcast?
of recording. If you go back to them, like there's a lot of cringe, but that never really went away. We still have a lot of cringe, but like, for people that listen to our recorded episodes, the whole in 3, 2, 1. That happened by accident. That was literally it was just Dylan and I for the first episode. We couldn't figure out how a good way
Like,
to start
to
would
get
be,
into it.
how to get
Yeah.
into it. And I was like, hey, all right, look, I'll just count us down. And then once I say 1, then we know we're good to talk, and I'll edit that out. And then I forgot that I did that. And so I left the in 3, 2, 1. And then we started talking. And that's how that became our intro because it was an accident. I forgot to edit that out. And that was just the quality level, And then there's also parts where you can hear like my cats like chewing on Dylan's headset, like mid recording. They just started
Or their
like
bells.
yeah, or the bells on their collars. You just hear like them like, and then ting 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 ting, and then we just keep going, just keep talking. Oh man!
And then all of a sudden, one of us is really far away.
yeah. And then like the mics we were using like I had like this really crappy headset, especially when you joined on the second episode. And we were using like Voice Meter as a program.
God, yes.
And
Banana.
it picked up everything. So like I had this squeaky chair that you'd lean and be like every time you would like move. And I don't know, there's just something kind of not that we've, obviously our equipment has gotten much better, but
Way
like
better.
there's something just kind of wholesome about like the sheer
Well,
struggle.
We were
it
early
was.
Iron Man in the cave using
Yeah.
scraps.
definitely. I remember when we first decided to get into this, like, and actually make an effort towards it, that we bought that HyperX microphone.
Yeah.
And I look back to like what we were searching to like find in a good mic was like the farthest thing from what you would want in a podcast. We were like best like whole room audio, like so it amplifies the quietest little squeak
We
a
were
mile
like-
away. We wanted it as loud, and it was so bad. It was this. The
We
pickup
literally
pattern was-
looked up we were like, well, we don't want to spend money on more than one mic. So what's the best mic
Like
for
group
group
mic.
recordings? And there is no such thing as a good mic for
No.
group recordings.
It just amplifies everything.
It literally would only work for like a conference call type
Yeah.
situation. It would never work for like a recorded
High
medium.
But we spent more on that microphone than one
these.
of these, which is hilarious to think about because these are to me are like actual. They're
Yeah,
not
way
not
better.
like professional tier, but they're not
Pretty
like
darn close.
They're pretty darn close. It's the tier before that, like consumer plus. I don't know what you would call that, but
Economy.
yeah, it's
Economy
like
plus.
if you're trying to do this but on a budget, and it to me like the difference is not actually in the quality of mic between those studio microphones. It's actually just how dynamic they actually are because these mics, as you can tell, kind of drop off very quickly. The pickup pattern is a little different, and so that's a little better. But they're like 5x the cost. These
Right.
were like
Test.
Microphones are activating.
Oh,
Okay,
We're back.
we're back. I think it's. I gotta figure out a better solution for this extender that I have here. I think
Every
it's a
time you
little
touch
sensitive, or look at it wrong.
Image-
Anyway, thank you.
Images frozen.
Thanks for the chat. We actually had a couple people mention it. Thank you. I think the name of that title. Okay, so let's go back and let's talk about we were talking about the first episode.
Our image is still frozen.
Our image.
Yeah.
Oh, here. Let's.
God, see, we've just come such a long way on
Isn't
our
it
quality.
impressive?
Yep.
It's insane.
If I go to what if I transition this scene?
well, I mean, if you think about it, did we even think about streaming, like when we
No.
started?
No, not at all.
So this is like we're evolving.
This is still new.
We're becoming something new. A new organism.
It's all part of this grand scheme.
We're trying to make Kitty Ratio a multimedia platform for all things nerd. You know, like metaverse,
Yeah.
Kitty Ratio verse.
We've pitched the idea to Whole Foods, to Kroger. For some reason, grocery stores don't want to pick up the Katie Ratio verse.
I don't know why.
We're good.
All right, we're moving again.
Amen.
It's
this piece of shit.
it's your hands, man.
You're too
The
moving.
magic hands. These
We're gonna have
things-
to handcuff him.
It's
Ooh.
actually I didn't touch
like
it. I don't
it.
think. I don't think I did.
I don't think you did either.
Let's go watch the
I'm
tape.
just making.
We got the tape on it. Okay. Any other things that we want to talk about before we jump into the main topic that I wanted to talk about tonight?
Oh, this isn't the main topic.
We can make it the main topic. You want to keep going?
Do you want to go down this road?
I was like, this fucking guy, like, if you looked at a mashup of like his personality on here, it's aggressive and mean.
And horny.
Yes! 3 traits that don't look good, sir.
What are you talking about? I've been in a committed relationship for 10 years. All right.
What's her name? Android? No, I wanted to get into a little bit about
Aggressive. Wait a minute. Let's circle back. When have I ever been aggressive?
you attack me 3 times every episode.
3?
Minimum.
No.
You don't
Not
know
even
what the-
close.
Right now, see, not even close. You're those are definitive
You
words.
started the conversation.
I'm hurt.
Billy's the
I
victim.
think maybe you guys should not be so soft.
I don't
Wow.
see that.
And that took a while. I don't think so.
He had to build up his courage, Kyle. He's scared.
Look, if
You
we
do.
all agreed all the time,
That's yes.
be
that
boring.
wouldn't be a podcast. It'd be a circle jerk.
It'd be a cult.
It'd be
Which
a cult.
we do circle jerk sometimes.
See, you're just as horny as I am.
Mass Effect.
I'm just older than you guys, so I just don't get this new generation humor.
You
What?
are.
You're part of the same generation as us.
You spew more
I
humor
was,
than any man I've ever met.
Okay, let's get into the topic because Dylan brought up something, and it's kind of funny when you go back and watch the last episode of why you brought this up for the things that I said, because it doesn't actually fit really at all. But you brought up a game, Divinity,
Uh-huh.
and we all checked it out. We all 3 bought it, and we've been playing it. And it's a turn-based combat system, and it's got kind of I would almost say like a Souls-like. No, that's way wrong. It has
I was like,
a-
Souls-like?
not Souls-like for combat. I was thinking like
XCOM.
story. Like it's not. There's not a linear path through it,
Mm.
and you kind of
So the approach to the story.
Yeah.
But not like.
like you really have to pay attention because a
It
lot
is.
of it is like dialogue. I feel
Yeah.
like it's actually like a story created by D&D nerds that like had like professional voice actors.
That's 100%. What
and
it is.
You really have
Yeah.
to go and talk to people, engage in them, kind of remember what you said to them, and be careful about your dialogue because all of a sudden you might shank them and kill them.
And if you're an origin character, people just die.
People will just randomly die. So the game that we're playing right now is Divinity Original Sin 2, made by Larian Studios. And believe it or not, I think we have collectively on our playthrough about a little over 10 hours already. I know most of that time is me.
I have
trying to-
at least 5.
You have at least
Just
5.
me, yeah.
Dylan has about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Like maybe 2 or 3 hours?
No, I think 4 actually.
4?
Yeah,
Yeah, at least 3.
yeah. So we've been playing through that.
And you know what's crazy? I still feel like we don't have an authority to review the game at any
Yeah.
like
We're too early.
whatsoever.
No, this isn't going to be a review.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about what you guys think of games like this and what you think of the what the hell you call that?
Turn-based.
Thank you. Turn-based combat. And just the overall nature of the game. Because before this, like Larian Studios is working on a game called Baldur's Gate 3. Much more D&D stylistic.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever played any of the Baldur Gates?
I played the
I've heard of
second one. Not the first one, but I have played the second one.
I'm not familiar with the first 2 games in any way, really.
Didn't BioWare do Baldur's Gate?
I believe so, yeah. I was actually just fact checking that right now, but that was one of their before they got big.
I thought BioWare did Dragon Age.
Well, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Mass
But
Effect
that's after they got big. Before early BioWare, Baldur's Gate was there.
was Larian, or was them, not Larian. Oh, okay.
From my understanding.
Looking it up right now.
Yeah, while you do that, because the way that I've seen Baldur's Gate 3, and I have no reference.
Yep. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 was developed by BioWare. So it was
So not Larian.
it was definitely their introduction into making RPGs. They were all turn-based up until Mass Effect, actually.
Interesting.
BioWare was, yeah.
Because even Dragon Age is still turn-based. Or,
It is.
Yeah.
Inquisition was. That was the last game I played. Do they still make Dragon Age games?
yeah, they're... we'll see. They're in development, and I believe it might end up being Anthem or, another...
Inquisition got
Correct.
Game of the Year, which
No.
is, swear to God.
I did not like that game. I'm just saying.
I couldn't get into it myself.
Yeah, me neither.
I think I bought the collector's edition of that game.
It came with the PS4 when I bought it.
Oh.
It was like, when I bought PS4, I feel like it was like a launch title with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That and Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Black
Interesting.
Flag, I know for sure.
I thought it came out after that.
Maybe it came out after that. I might be confusing the two.
I'm trying to remember the timeline because I'll never forget why I remember buying that game. It's because I went into GameStop, and that was when I got a GameStop credit card and spent like $600 on video games.
Oh my
in a day.
gosh.
I was like driving home
And
from work and I wanted to buy
Now
Witcher.
look at him trying to spend money on games. We have to basically torture him.
I won't
man.
do it.
I'm on that free-to-play juice. It doesn't work for titles like this.
Yeah, it was. It released November 18th, 2014. And PS4 released.
Oh, that's probably
Oh,
why.
it came out a year. I thought the PS4 came out 2014. It came
Okay.
out 2013.
Because I bought The Witcher 3 collector's edition, bought the Dragon Age Inquisition collector's edition, and a couple other ridiculous titles.
Why do I feel like it came out like it was not something that I chose for? For some reason, I just got it.
Maybe when you bought the PS,
Well,
it was
no, because
included in the package.
I bought PS4 at launch.
yeah.
There's a whole story
Did you beat it?
around that failed.
Did you end up beating Inquisition?
No, I put about 15 hours into it, and I gave it the old college try, and the story, I didn't mind the gameplay. I know that was your main gripe because it wasn't turn-based, but like as a mage, when you attack, you can't move. And I remember that was a huge thing for you. You had to be stationary to fight. I didn't mind that too much. What I didn't like is the story just wasn't compelling enough for me to be interested. And as we know, that's paramount for me, is the story has to be interesting.
Yeah.
And if it's not interesting, then it really has to make up for it in the gameplay department for me.
Well, and that game in particular, you had to control three people, right? there's 3 characters
Yeah,
that were always in
Yeah.
your squad.
you can like cycle through them and like
Yeah.
swap at any time. I think they automatically did their own thing if you didn't swap, if I remember right.
Yeah, they
Oh,
did
would
auto.
auto.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't even know if I knew that, because I remember that being one of my biggest pet peeves. Is I don't like managing another character, because I dedicate so much effort into making mine perfect and trying to like figure out all the quirks and how can I maximize this if I do, what are all the angles into being the best that when you switch to like sword and board to a mage to somebody shooting a bow and arrow, and you're like fucking can't even understand. Like it's just and I felt like I couldn't do that in that game. But anyway, with the going back to Baldur's Gate 3 and the game that we've been playing, which is the definitive edition for Divinity Original Sin 2, the longest title in the history of titles.
The original.
The original. Baldur's Gate 3 is going to lean way more into D&D stylistic combat, which is like anytime you have an action come up or you're in a dialogue, maybe instead of having like a base, persuasion or whatever it might be, it's based on dice roll. You can roll in there, and then you have like different things that you can buff. Like roll again, kind of how D&D works, basically.
Right.
I really way more prefer the Larian method.
Yeah, than that.
Of
with what
Divinity
they've-
Original Sin, you mean?
Yes, I like this. In fact, I'm actually really enjoying this style of combat because of it is turn-based, but it is faster.
Yeah.
And there's not like a reaction, like it's set. You have your action points, you expend those, it rotates away. You have like the ability to keep thinking about your character and positioning them and what you're going to do and see what the enemies are like. It keeps a pace. You're not necessarily like AFKing when it's not your turn.
Yeah.
You're part of this battle.
This style of gameplay really matters more. It matters less about like you being a skilled gamer and more on you being like a tactician.
It's strategy.
You don't need to be good at games to be good at this game. It's a completely different skill set because there's no like quick reactions needed. There's no like it's all about strategy. And other than that, you're just point and click. But that doesn't take away from the fun in any way. It's just a different approach to gaming, and I've been liking it too. It's fun, and it's
deep.
It's deep, and
You're welcome.
we're finding out ways to like just get through things, and whether that be flee, come back, like mechanics to heal, anticipate like who's fighting next. Positioning is huge. Being able to not get yourself cornered, surrounded, and everything is a turn, a movement. And it reminds me a lot of like dungeon crawler, like tabletop board games. It's just like that Descent game that we used to play a lot. It's a lot like that video game format. And so, I think I'm with you guys, or at least I don't know if we've heard your opinion yet, but I'm with Billy for sure.
No, yeah, I'm into it. I'm on the same vein as you, Kyle, though, that I feel like my opinion, I can't even give you one yet as far as besides I like it.
Whether or not it's fun or not yet.
Yeah,
is
like
really all we
I
can
feel
say.
like
comment on story.
there's so much
Yeah.
for us to get into that I'm just like, I feel like I'm still in the tutorial. I don't have all the skills yet, and we have the starter skills. And it's like, wait, we can get expert skills? What? So it feels like we're so early into it that my only opinion right now is it's fun.
I don't
and
think
it's
we're
very
beating it.
deep.
I don't think we're beating it in 60 hours.
No,
like they
No,
say.
not with our
Not the
playthrough.
way we're playing.
Yeah, in fact, I actually want to pull back because we kept going east the other night. I want to kind of pull back and finish the castle that we're in. We're in Fort Joy right now. For anyone that may have been playing this, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. And what I love is there's a depth to the combat. And this is exactly why I think you recommended the game. Is there is combo fields that can get created. So if you're standing in, like for your huntsman, you are able to add like that affinity to your
My
arrows.
And I love that. I have to be standing around it.
Yes, within something. And so part of the stuff that I'm learning, so this is how I'm an addict. I literally find something I like and that's what I do. That's why I have to be very careful with the games that I play.
The Mushroom King.
I am the mushroom. We'll get into that in a minute. But like you can pre-buff before the fight and you can like shoot an arrow at me where it doesn't cost you anything before the fight, and you create a blood pool and then you can stand in that and then we can engage in the fight.
Nice.
And so there's all these things that you can do that's incredible. And the thing that actually turned me on the most is I found this guy on YouTube, and he's been doing like these full-length playthroughs. And I have not spoiled anything for myself in terms of fight. I've actually watched stuff not even to where we are already. We're actually further. But he has one playthrough where he spends like the first, I think I had it on, it was like 4 hours long. He just explains a lot of the mechanics and the crafting system and how skills work and what you can get. You can actually take 2 skill books, so from like Huntsman and Geomancer, and you can combine them together for their own unique skills. And all this is like innate inside your character. And I just was sort of shocked with like, whoa, none of this is spelled out. That's why it's kind of like a Souls game in terms of how much it's engaging you with. And the wiki is ass because there's no like, I don't think the community is that large for this game. But the wiki is like basically blank. And so you really have to just kind of put your brain to the test and try to figure this out. I feel like it's Elden Ring like the first 3 days before any content existed.
Yeah.
And so like, for example, we killed the trader for my pyro. I'm a mage. That's what I love to play. And we killed on accident the pyro trader that gives you the spells for pyro.
So Bill did.
So I went on this ramp, like on this just internet search, scraping the earth to try and figure out how to get, not get him back, but like craft these spells because I was super handicapped without being able to buy these spells. Yeah. And like I was starting down this path and I was learning about crafting because again, there's no guides on this stuff. There's no tutorials on YouTube. Like it doesn't exist. I'm reading like comments that are not well thought out. It's like some guy sitting on a toilet that he fired one off or whatever. And so I found like that there was maybe the way to make this knife, which could then be converted. No, you had to get a knife to then make a leather bound book, which then you could create a blank skill book that you can infuse with a fire spell to then create the skill that you wanted or whatever. And I'm like, all right, we're going to, that's all the direction I need. Let me try this. So like in creating this knife or this leather bound book, I needed this mushroom and I found one. But the thing was like, I needed a couple of them and I was trying, and I found a way you could grab a bucket and you could put this mushroom in the bucket and it would, if you drop it, it grows. And when you pick it back up, it gives you 2 mushrooms. and these mushrooms were like worth 30 gold each. And I was like, fuck, if I get like 10 buckets and I start farming mushrooms, I get a lot of gold. So I did that for about an hour farming these mushrooms. And now we through at least what I'm thinking, the first act, we have enough gold. We don't have to worry about getting gold. So like, and then I gave up on the fire thing because there's no, the crafting doesn't even make sense. There's not even suggestions of like what recipe you should use.
You just do this and
you have to hope it works. Yeah. So I gave up on that because nothing was working. Is a knife also a kitchen knife or is a knife just a knife? And I couldn't figure it out. I spent literally hours farting around with it. I said, fuck it, I'm just gonna be the Mushroom King and be rich. So I did that. I farmed. I'm a nerd, man. I did that and try to give us an upper hand in doing so.
Yeah, I mean your approach. I mean we're both nerds, but your approach is way different than mine.
Yeah,
you're like, you find a game that you did this with Elden Ring. You do this with any new game we get into. You find it, you're like, this is kind of fun. And then 2 hours later, I have now read everything there is to read and every material, and I have studied everything there is to study. I am a master at this game, and then my approach is, I'll figure it out as I go, and I just play, and that kind of fucks me over in some situations, but it's funny to see when we're playing a co-op game how the two styles blend. Like, I had a conversation with me, you're like, what do you mean you're still using the basic? And I'm like, why would I upgrade? It's still working. And you're like, you can get better skills. And I was like, but it doesn't matter to me at this point because it's still working. And you're like, I don't understand, but okay. As long as I'm still killing the bad guys, what does it matter? That's my thought process.
Because it makes it easier. I don't know. That's how I've always been with. I just want to learn as much as I can. Like, I will stay up till 2 a.m. like reading some forum post about somebody theory crafting about like a build that could work. It has, and it's like, because that's basically what you find is like posts about maybe ideas of how to do these things. And this guy that I found on YouTube has been amazing in terms of kind of walking me through how the world functions and how the skills actually set off. And I still feel like I don't know anything about this game.
You experiment with builds on any game way more than I ever have. You, like, Elden Ring is a good example of this, but also this game is kind of a good example of it as well. But in Elden Ring, you're like, I want to know how to play this game every way possible. Like, I have a build for everything there is to have a build for. And I literally will, like, I like this build, and I'll play 7 playthroughs in a row once I find that one build, and I never change. And so I've done, like, I'm on New Game Plus 4, I think, on Elden Ring. And every time I'm like, well, I'm going to try something else, I end up not doing that. And then, but you'll be like, I have enough to be able to do any build I want, and I'm changing it every 20 minutes just to see, like,
Dude, it's weird. Like, I don't know why. I always am looking for the most optimal way of doing it. It's just an efficiency thing with me. And I honestly think it's just because I'm lazy. Like, I want to, which is crazy to sound.
You're working harder.
It's all up front loaded to, like, because I want it to be like, okay, this is what at the end of the day, this is what I have to remember to do. All the work's been front loaded. I found the most optimal path if it's a game that requires that, or optimal skill order to do the most damage, whatever. Do that 1,000 times, and then once I get there, I feel okay, I'm good. But until then, I'm like, I got this. Got to get
when you reach that peak and you're fully optimized. Do you not like?
Dude, I get such a hard on when I see big numbers.
Oh, no, you don't feel empty?
Dude, when I'm blowing shit up and I can, like, brag to other people about me blowing shit. Look at this one, Comet Azure when I finally unlocked that ability to just laser blast. Like, the feeling that gives you, like, oh, yes.
I've literally, in Elden Ring, I've literally refused to change builds, even, like, at a detriment. Where, like, I have to spank this person like for 20 minutes to kill him. I refuse to do what's recommended to beat him quick because I like the way my guy looks. I'm much more impressed by, like, I'm into, like, cosplaying in games where, like, if I look good, I'm not super
Elden
concerned.
Bling.
Yeah, I'm not super concerned with the stats. Like, so if I find something I like, that's why I like Transmog. But if I find something that I like build-wise, then it's just a matter of how I look. And if I like the way I look and how I play, I'm done. I will never experiment with anything ever again.
I am all about what is the most effective. Like, I rock in Elden Ring full bull goats gear, no matter the build. And then I rock, whatever maxed out weapon that I can with, the optimal. Well, now I'm max level, so it doesn't matter. But I just rock whatever's going to be the most effective, and I make sure it's that, and then I figure out how to use that build the most effectively, and then rinse and repeat over and over and over. But until I feel like, because I literally feel like it's a waste. I'm wasting my time, or I'm making things like I don't want to go. Like, let's take Elden Ring for example. You go and you fight a boss, and maybe you're constantly getting him to like half health. Well, maybe I find a build that I can double my damage output. Well, then I would have already killed him. So, you know what I mean? So if I can get him to half health with this shit suboptimal build. But then I switched to this where I'm doing double the damage. Well, now I can kill him, no problem. So it's not necessarily, I need to get better. I could just focus on this build.
See, but
And I just say,
get better.
get good.
Yeah.
And so I will.
I definitely think there's a getting good too, like because I like with Divinity right now. I feel like I'm halfway there to understanding the combat system.
But I'm like that, not even on games where, quote unquote, get good. I'm like that on any game. Like, I found a way to play I like in Mass Effect. And every single time I play Mass Effect, I have the same class.
I do that too.
I never change
See?
classes.
Soldier every time.
Yeah.
But that's a game that I wouldn't there's not really an optimal class, right? I mean, like you're still going to get through the game relatively the same pace. There was nothing in that game that was like, oh
you'll
my
never
God, I can't get
not
past
be.
this.
I mean, there are classes that make it a little bit easier than others, but you're never gonna be like, I must be playing this wrong. Like it's not
Yeah.
like that. Like it's designed in a way to where you won't struggle tremendously unless you're playing on the hardest difficulty, no matter what class you pick.
See, and
But I was just throwing that out as an example that I just every game I've ever played, the only game I ever really experimented with builds was actually Skyrim. I played that game every way you can play it. And I don't know what it was about that game. That game just, for its time, it's older now, but for its time, it just made trying new things really accessible and not a lot of work. And so it was very easy to be like, well, let me try this, or let me try this.
And I think that's why I'm enjoying this game so much is while I can find the most optimal, max DPS, here's the skills I need to use. This is the build that, I need to start to strive for and understand how everything works with each other. In every situation so far in this game, especially through this first playthrough, the arena is different. So how we set up beforehand, how we need to split, how I need to get the high, you and you play the huntsman, I play the mage. We need to get high ground because we get damage buffs.
Extra 10%.
Yeah. And so the strategy shifts completely in terms of what you need to be focusing on. And so it's like a never ending pursuit of knowledge, I guess. Of like, okay, hey, how can we set up for this fight? And I don't know, man. This guy that I found on YouTube, I think his name's Manithro or something, Manithro or something. He did a honor mode, which honor mode will, if you die, that's it. Your playthrough is wiped. And I don't think you could do quick saves in honor mode.
Oh man.
So you're just like, if you get into a fight, you're in a fight. And he is doing a solo playthrough on honor mode with no lone wolf trait, which if you remember, that's the one that if you're going to want to play solo, it like equalizes you with what a 2 or 4 man party would be.
Yeah.
And he's doing this, and I watched like maybe an hour or so of his multi-part playthrough. And it's amazing how strategic you can be in this game with not having the damage output. It's just knowing how to group enemies, knowing how to position yourself, knowing who to attack first. It's really incredible. And so there's that whole element to the game that you can't necessarily just go, okay, press 1, press 2, press 3. It's situational awareness.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Dylan, for recommending this game because
Of
it's
course.
actually been a lot of fun for me.
I knew I had a feeling you'd get into it because the original time I played it, the reason I stopped was first I was playing it by myself, and it's a lot funner playing with you guys, and then it just was so much. And at that time, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for the commitment that I have to put into to get into this game, and so I knew you'd like it because all that Guild Wars, I was like, builds.
Well, that's just and it plays exactly. It plays exactly the way that I like, where your character, the basic class that you set up and you pick, doesn't have any influence on how you ultimately build.
Mm-mm.
You could pick different skills to incorporate in your build, and like I said, there's different synergies. So you combine this, you combine Huntsman with Geomancer or Huntsman with Pyromancer, you're going to get these like different trap skills or blind skills or stuff that are the two elements kind of synergized together that you can now use. And There's a whole depth to the game, and it's just amazing to see people on these forums. They're like, I have 150 hours in this, and I just learned this, and it's like, wow, fuck, I need to learn that. What's that?
Oh shit!
I'm just growing mushrooms over here, trying to get as much money as I can. I am the Mushroom King.
I was thinking of like Toad from Mario.
I know, right? But it's been fun, and it's got a whole. I honestly wish you. So I want to get into this because this is an interesting. So they call this game a CRPG. I've never heard this term before. Have you guys heard this term?
What's
Computer RPG?
computer role playing game?
Yeah,
But it's not a computer game. It's on console too.
Yeah, but it's designed for computer.
Okay, so that's
I mean, it
It's
was
a
there
big
any-
console role playing
the
game.
the console version of it is just a port. It's not like
Okay.
really intended primarily for that. There's a lot of different variations of RPG, to be honest. I think it's fair to call everything an RPG, but that genre is getting so varied that they have all these little designations. They have JRPG, Action RPG, which is ARPG. They have God, what is the like Diablo, that like that type of game? It's called something else. There's CRPG,
MMORPG.
MMORPG. It's just an online RPG. Like, there's so many different variations of RPG. It's insane. Primarily the RPGs I like are action RPGs. You think of a game like Witcher, that's an action RPG. Elden Ring is an action RPG. But I think that there's definitely a market for the CRPG for me to get into as well.
It's just I didn't know. I had never heard that designation before, and I just thought it was
The first designation in the RPG is always telling you what type of gameplay the RPG is.
see, and that's what I thought first. Was it like, oh, is that signaling that it is turn based? But computer, I just figured, oh, extra nerdy, so turn based. You have to be really into
It's a
it.
TBRPG, turn-based.
It's a tabletop turn-based RPG.
But the reason why I bring it up is because I read this this like thesis on one of the forums for Guild Wars 1, and it was talking about how actually that game is not an MMO because it's not open world where you're interacting with and fighting with multiple people.
Is this like someone's take, or
This is someone's take,
Okay.
and it was actually kind of like this epiphany moment for me because I couldn't agree more. And everything that he was talking about is what I didn't like about Guild Wars 2, which was the one which did full steer into a traditional MMO. Because my favorite part about Guild Wars 1 was everything was instanced. So you were a part of like an 8-man team or a 6-man team or a 4-man team trying to conquer this zone, and there was real repercussions, real penalty. When you fight in an open world, press 1 and fall asleep. So that's how Guild Wars 2 is designed. And so like it's kind of reframed my thoughts in terms of what games that I've liked, because that was not an MMO. That was an RPG that was online. That's what Guild Wars 1 was, and you did instant team-based combat where everyone had a very specific role and you were functioning part of a team, and that's what I loved about it. And so this game is tapping into a little bit of that energy for me in terms of like, hey man, I love doing this, and it's fun playing with you guys. I love
But then there's
I
like
love it.
MMORPG just means massively
Multiplayer.
Multiplayer.
multiplayer online RPG. So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, it is so is it just an ORPG instead of an MMORPG?
Right. I don't know how these designations work.
These distinctions are something else for sure.
Yeah.
Everything's an RPG. It could all go under that umbrella. I think in its truest sense of the word, an RPG, it's role-playing game. So it's defined by choices and character like creation and variation, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a style of combat you're going to.
Yeah.
What's the game oriented around? Is it a platformer? No. It's an RPG. So you're playing as a character.
Yeah.
And you're going around in this world. So
That's why some people
Yeah.
have argued that like Bloodborne is not an RPG. It's an action game because they say the variations of builds isn't great enough.
What?
Yeah, I've seen that argument as well. The variation in build isn't great enough to warrant being called an RPG, and there's only 3 endings. So that's not good enough for some people.
Okay.
Almost make that argument about a lot of games.
Yeah, so
So you're telling me Mario's not enough?
Mario's not an RPG.
I can role play as him. I wear my Mario hat.
Yeah. Well, there's the whole Mario RPG like game.
Yeah,
It's Mario RPG.
it actually, that came
And
out in
then
the
Paper
90s.
Mario, which
But
is kind of the same.
Bill, you kind of just you're just recently like getting into defining the difference in RPG, like because it was like not a couple episodes when I forget what game it was. And you're like, that's not an RPG. And I was like, no,
But God of War.
God of War, yeah, and then now like
Yeah. Because again, like I would say maybe not because I took a multi-year hiatus, but I would say we have relatively similar gaming backgrounds. We're talking probably I have at least 10,000 hours of my life spent in games, and I can quantify that because I know I have at least 8K hours in Guild Wars alone. So I know that I have at least 10,000 hours. Versus you guys, I would say you both probably have 10,000 hours in gaming as well.
lifetime, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, lifetime. That's what I'm talking. Yeah, no, not last week.
I know.
I hit it hard.
I was hitting it hard, but this like I have extremely I have what would you call that pointed experience in gaming where it's like focus. I don't have. You guys have the breadth, right? You have thousands of games played across multiple genres, across like all this experience like that. Versus it's like I got nothing, but then a fuckload of this, And that's the
My
difference.
10,000 hours is spread over at least 15 different genres of game.
Yeah,
And I don't think I've ever played a single game more than 2,000 hours. In fact, I know for a fact I'm not even close.
Knights of the Old
I
Republic.
don't think I have.
There's no way I put 2,000 hours into that.
Yeah, I think probably your most is what Cyberpunk. At this point?
So
You said you have 500 hours in that game.
yeah, but that's not my most. My most might still honestly be Skyrim, actually. And that's not even necessarily because it's in. I mean,
Which
it's
one though? The remastered, I'm just
The
kidding.
OG.
Yeah, the Switch
OG.
release, or
No, the port on phone. No, that game is just easy to just play forever, and
Yeah.
not do anything.
It
That's why I have a lot of hours on that. But if I were to, on average, when I play Knights of the Old Republic, I've beat it about 20 times, and I take about 20 hours each time. So I have about 500 hours on Knights of the Old Republic. And
Cyberpunk's right there almost.
Cyberpunk's right there. But I don't know if I equate playtime to... I don't equate that to whether or not it is in my greatest games of all time list.
Right.
Like Detroit Become Human, that's in my top 10, and I've only played that
30
twice.
hours, yeah.
So, which, around 30 hours maybe. So,
Yeah.
that's in my top 10, but it's...
No, different
Yeah.
games require different time inputs for sure.
Right. Or God of War, the 2018. Love that game. There's an argument to have that in one of my top lists, but I only played through it twice.
Yeah, I think I've only played through it 3 times, and I'm
Yeah.
a big fan.
Well, we're going to be talking about God of War on our podcast episode,
coming
which
up.
is coming out tonight. And the podcast episode is coming out tonight, not God of War. We have an early release for you. No, I'm just kidding. Dylan, where can people find us?
We got a hookup from Santa Monica Studio. They're gonna let us.
They gave us a review copy, early review copy. But they can find us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, where you're listening right now, as well as any streaming or music streaming platform, podcast streaming platform.
Podcast.
Where you
We
can
sing our podcast.
listen to our beautiful voices as we caress your ears.
That's right.
With music.
Cuddle with us emotionally.
Yes. Cuddle with us emotionally. That sounds like
Platonically.
it should be
All
our
right, we're
catch
not
line.
weird. Just cuddle with us as friends.
Cyberly.
I think we need that as a catch line. Cuddle with
Cuddle
us.
with us emotionally.
There needs to be a pause. Cuddle with us emotionally.
Ooh. Dude, I feel like we could start selling bumper
We're on to
stickers.
something. We're on to something there.
All right, guys. Thanks. This has been another episode of our stream. Check us out on our podcast. That's